So recently, Khabib Nurmagomedov gave his take on a potential fight between Ilia Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan. And let's just say it's raised a couple eyebrows or two. And you see, Khabib didn't just favor Arman Tsarukyan, he said he'd give him an 80-20 edge over Ilia Topuria. Now, don't get me wrong, Arman Tsarukyan is absolutely the toughest stylistic matchup for Ilia Topuria at lightweight right now. He's young, explosive, and one of the best wrestlers currently in the division. But to act like Ilia Topuria only has a 20% chance, that's absolutely crazy. If anything, this fight is razor close, and I'd personally put it at a 65-35 in Ilia's favor, or 55-45 if we're being completely unbiased. Because while Arman Tsarukyan brings a nightmare skill set, Ilia Topuria has every tool he needs to fend him off and stay undefeated. And if Arman Tsarukyan can't beat Ilia, then no one at 155 will ever do it. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can help me reach 3,000 subscribers by May. I'll deeply appreciate you. And make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. Alright, so look, when Khabib Nurmagomedov speaks about mixed martial arts, the community probably listens. I mean, his career, his legacy, as well as his expertise as one of the most dominant fighters in UFC history naturally gives his word, a heavy amount of weight. And so recently, Khabib gave his thoughts on a potential clash between Ilia Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan, stating that he would favor Arman Tsarukyan in the matchup, going as far as to call it an 80-20 fight in Arman Tsarukyan's favor. And so you see, on the surface, this may sound kind of reasonable. I mean, Arman Tsarukyan is a young, explosive, as well as a highly skilled wrestler with excellent cardio, sharp striking, as well as a smothering pace. However, this assessment is not only exaggerated, it just, kind of overlooks the very tools that have made Ilia Topuria one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport today. And yes, Arman Tsarukyan is absolutely the hardest stylistic test Ilia Topuria would face at lightweight. No one's denying that for one bit. I mean, his wrestling pedigree, relentless pressure, as well as his ability to chain takedowns together just make him a nightmare matchup for almost anyone within the lightweight division. I mean, he has the youth, the athleticism, and the prime timing of his career to make him a legitimate threat. But to say that this fight is 80-20, as if Ilia Topuria barely has a chance, is a complete misread of this entire matchup. Because in reality, this fight is so much closer than what a lot of people are giving it credit for. In my opinion, I would probably give it in maybe a 65-35 for Ilia Topuria once you factor in all of his skills, but more like 55-45 when you take away all the bias and glaze. But before explaining why Ilia Topuria still has the edge in my opinion, I think it's worth breaking down Arman Tsarukyan's weapons. That being said, Arman Tsarukyan is absolutely the best chain wrestler in the lightweight division now that Islam Makhachev has moved up to 170. His ability to set up takedowns from kicks and feints, his smooth transitions between single legs and doubles, and, not to mention his use of mat returns to drain his opponents of their energy is all elite. And, even on the feet, he's not just this one-dimensional wrestler. I mean, his low kicks are effective, his boxing is clean enough to set up his entries, and, his cardio allows him to push a suffocating pace for a straight 3 full rounds and, probably even more. And, stylistically, this is a difficult matchup for Ilia Topuria. We all know that Ilia thrives when he's able to pressure forward, plant his feet, and fire heavy combinations with devastating power. And, against an opponent like Arman Tsarukyan, who won't allow him to dictate his range easily and will consistently threaten level changes, I think Ilia Topuria will have to fight a lot differently than he usually does. I mean, This is precisely why Khabib, as well as so many other fans, see Arman Tsarukyan as Ilia Topuria's toughest test. But then again, despite all of that, Ilia Topuria still has all the tools he needs to not only compete with Arman Tsarukyan, but to beat Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, first things first, his defensive grappling is vastly underrated. I mean, people often forget that Ilia Topuria is not only a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but also an elite Greco-Roman wrestler, with strong top game and excellent scrambling. We've already seen him stuff takedowns against solid wrestlers and world-class jiu-jitsu practitioners like a Bryce Mitchell, as well as a Charles Oliveira, Charles du Bronx. Arman Tsarukyan's wrestling may get him some, early success in the beginning, but Ilia's ability to scramble and, his sheer physical strength make it unlikely that he'll be able to, be held down for long periods of time and get dominated by Arman Tsarukyan, in my opinion. And on the feet, Ilia Topuria is in a completely different league. His striking's precise, powerful, and efficient. And unlike many fighters within the lightweight division, he doesn't need to throw 100 strikes around to change the fight. All he needs is just one clean opening. And, one of the most overlooked aspects of Ilia Topuria's game is his patience. I mean, he doesn't waste energy, he doesn't get reckless, and he picks his shots with deadly accuracy. Against someone like Arman Tsarukyan, whose striking is more serviceable than it is elite, Ilia Topuria's power is the ultimate equalizer. So, to simply put, if Arman Tsarukyan cannot hold Ilia Topuria down for extended periods of time, he's in danger every second that fight remains standing. Period. And before I forget, another piece of mixed martial arts that often gets overlooked is the mindset. Ilia Topuria has that rare aura of invincibility, the kind that radiates off of fighters like, a prime Khabib, a John Jones, or an Israel Adesanya during his reign. He walks into fights with absolute belief in his skills, and that, confidence shows in his performances. And, Arman Tsarukyan, while incredibly talented, has shown moments of hesitation in high-level fights, such as his one against Matthews Gamrot, where his decision-making costed him rounds, and Charles Oliveira, Charles du Bronx, where one slip-up, and this could have been an entirely different video. And so against someone as punishing as Ilia Topuria, those small windows could mean the entire fight. But the more I think about it, the clearer it becomes that Khabib's 80-20 statement likely comes from his wrestling-first worldview. Coming from Dagestan, where grappling dominance is king, it makes sense that he views Arman Tsarukyan's wrestling as an overwhelming weapon. But mixed martial arts is not wrestling, it's about how skills intersect. And Ilia Topuria's striking, his submission threats, his fight IQ, as well as his composure are just not things that you can simply discount. And to suggest that Ilia Topuria only has a 20% chance against Arman Tsarukyan is to ignore the fact that Ilia Topuria has repeatedly and consistently dismantled elite competition and has yet to show a true weakness inside of the octagon. But at the end of the day, this potential fight isn't just about Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. It's about legacy. And once Ilia Topuria gets past Arman Tsarukyan, the one man that many consider his toughest stylistic test at lightweight, then his reign becomes nearly untouchable. Because if Arman Tsarukyan can't crack him, the young prime wrestler with, the perfect tools to test against him, then who else at 155 can? Because in that case, Ilia Topuria wouldn't just be the champion, he'd be the start of a new era, a reign that could dominate the lightweight division for years and years to come. But that's all I've got to say for this video. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your guys' thoughts on Khabib Nurmagomedov's statement on the Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria matchup? Stating that Arman Tsarukyan has an 80% chance to beat Ilia Topuria. let me know in the comment section below. But that about wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Such